All right, Sherry.
Hello.
Go
Hello, everyone. Welcome this afternoon. We are here today to discuss helping young women succeed in gender-centric professions. Our talk is about supporting and mentoring women entering into professions that may be male-dominated. My name is Sherry Stewart, and I'm going to quickly give you some facts, and then we're going to move on to some panelists who are going to discuss some of their own personal experiences in regards to being in these male-dominated professions. Could you go to the next slide, please? So just to get us started, excuse me, as educators, we typically promote diversity in our programs, but there are professions that are gender centric. Some are male dominated and some are female dominated. We're going to be talking about more male dominated professions today. Three of those professions are construction, policing, and manufacturing. So could you go to the next slide, please? So what we're going to be doing is trying to figure out a way that perhaps we at Pima College can help promote mentoring programs or see if they're successful in a situation as we're going to be discussing today. So let me first give you a few facts about the professions that we're just going to generally look at. So the three professions, construction and policing and manufacturing, as you can see, are male dominated. So in construction, about 10% of the employment force is female. Excuse me. And this research I did about 12 months ago, but I'm sure it's still relevant. And then also, if you look at policing, you have about 12% of the employment force is female. So some of that changes depending on the location. Some police forces have more female officers and employees than that, but also some have quite a few less than that. So the last one is production and manufacturing. And typically there's about 8% of that workforce is female. And we're talking about welding, machining, any kind of manufacturing that goes on. It's typically only about 8% is female. So we can go on to the next slide. And excuse me, sorry about that. So I just want, women to know that, they can be both. They can enjoy, whether it be being feminine, as well as being in a job or a vocation that is considered masculine. I really like the image from Flashdance. I think that's where we're at. Now, the salaries that come up are pretty equivalent if a female enters a male-dominated profession. So in construction and in policing, what you find is that females make about 99% of their male counterparts' salaries. So it's very equivalent. In production and manufacturing, they typically make about 86%. The salary is not as equivalent as in the other two professions. One of the reasons that women do not have the same type of salaries as their male counterparts in some areas is because Typically, women do not promote overtime. They will take personal time, or they'll take time for their family sometimes, rather than take overtime. And so in those cases, women would make less than their male counterpart. Something else that happens is when females enter the job, or when they're looking for a raise, they don't negotiate. And if they negotiate, they will also make approximately the same as their male counterparts. So this is just a quick overview of some of the professions that are what we call gender centric. And we're trying to look for ways that Pima College may be able to support and even mentor women moving into male-dominated professions. So just think about, how is it that we can make not just our courses, but our classes and our education less gender-centric when it comes to actually helping people move into different professions that we consider gender-centric. Okay, thank you very much. And now I'm going to be turning it back over to Allison, who can introduce our first panelist.
Thanks, Sherry. I'm going to actually have all the panelists go around, if you would be willing to introduce yourself, your name, your role, where you work at, and anything else you'd like to tell us. And then we do have some prompts to kind of start the conversation, and then we can see where it takes us. So I will say, Lacey, would you be willing to go first?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Lacey Perry. I am the market executive for Bank of America in Tucson. In that role, I help drive our commitments to deliver for our clients, community, and also employees. I'm responsible for our local sponsorships, volunteerism, philanthropy, and then community partnerships, which we are super strong partners with Pima Community College. So excited to be here. Before I started in this role at the bank in 2018, I was full-time military, public affairs officer. So when you think about these gender-centric discussions, both of my roles are very public relations, public affairs, community relations. So maybe that role itself isn't necessarily gender specific, but certainly the organizations in banking and in the military, you certainly see fewer females there. So happy to share some of my insights and learn also from the additional panelists. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lacey. We're going to go in alphabetical order by first name. So Michelle, would you be willing to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Michelle Neuenhuis. I'm the current acting chief of police for Pima Community College. I think this is my third stint as acting chief, so I've got some practice at it. I have been at Pima for, it will be 28 years in August. And yeah, I was in thinking about this panel and what we would talk about. I can remember back in my undergraduate studies, some of my counterparts, male counterparts in coursework would just state biases they had against certain groups of people getting into this career field. And I was just completely shocked that, one, they had that bias and they felt that way, and two, that they actually verbalized them. It's like, I'm hoping really that to some degree, maybe that impacted them when it came to the interview, because even 30 years ago, and that's when that time frame was that I was an undergrad, you still really couldn't say those things in interviews, where I won't work with A, B, or C because of my belief system. So yeah, I think it's real interesting that we, in our line of work, you don't get to bring your biases with you, much less have them lead the way. And so yeah, we really promote and recruit as diverse a group as we possibly can here at the college. Definitely women in even non-traditional roles, right? In law enforcement, women got assigned to the sex crimes and the child's crime, child crime type things in the beginning. And I've got a female now that she's a firearms instructor and a defensive tactics instructor. And that's that tactical male dominated kind of side of the job that women just weren't encouraged to do. And I think it helps when you advocate for them. If you've got the skill set, then we should promote that. And I've got a male officer who's a couple of male officers who are phenomenal at talking to victims, right? They have that ability to relate to people and talk to them and make them feel comfortable. So, I'd like to challenge those stereotypes kind of on both sides of the house and not put people in roles because of a gender. You put them where you play to their strengths, right? And we really try to break down some of those stereotypes. And I'll finish up with this one little piece. When I first got out of college, I went to work for my dad in plumbing. So I worked construction for a little bit. And at the time, my dad didn't own the business, but a really good friend of his that he had worked for 20 years owned the business. And I was in the field installing, the sinks and the toilets and the hot water heaters and everything in the houses. And my dad went to the owner and said, "Hey, Michelle's been doing this for 3 months and she's doing a really good job. And we're kind of through, the sort of apprenticeship piece. And what we always do with all of our people is they get a pay raise after that 3-month window that demonstrates, hey, they're going to stick with us. They're doing a good job." And the guy was so old school. He said, "But I can't. We only paid the women in the company a set amount, and those other 2 women happened to be in the office doing the admin side." And it was difficult, but I gave my dad my 2 weeks notice that day, and I was just like, "Sorry, Dad, I can't put up with that." And he felt really bad. He felt caught in the middle. But I walked. I didn't have a job lined up. I just walked because I was doing the work of the men. I was in the field helping them. And I had, the owner of the company was old school, and he just felt women earn a certain wage regardless of what they're doing. All right, I'll finish on that for now.
Wow, that is really interesting. And thank you for sharing those experiences outside of even your role right now. Rosa Maria, you're next.
Okay, can you guys hear me? So my name is Rosa Maria Cárdenas. I work in Pima. This is my 2nd year being adjunct faculty over there in the mechatronics section. Also, I'm a Monday to Friday. I'm a high school teacher in Rio Rico High School. That's the place that I live, and I work in Saturdays in Pima. I used to work in industry for more than 15 years as a poly manufacturing electronic engineer. I'm an electronic industrial engineer. And when I moved here to US, because I have 13 years here in US, I decided to stop and work in the industry because I have 4 kids. So my husband and myself would decide about who is going to take care of the kids, because the last one was an extra bonus. So somebody had to take care of my kids. And so we decided according who gained more salary. So what's my husband? So, okay, so stay in my home for 5 years, taking care of my kids. And I don't want to lie, it was very difficult for me not for taking care of kids. It's because I love work. I love with all my heart. And again, I love my kids more than myself. That's why I decided to be in home. But I think say a lot of things to our kids about how they're supposed to do is you have to be a role model for them. So as soon as my little one get into kindergarten, I try to find a place that I can still work and I can check my kids and things like that. So I started in high school. First it was a substitute teacher, like a jumping around all in kinder to 12, just double checking is that's what I might want. And the first year was, oh my God, so horrible. That's, are you sure I want to be in here? And after again, I'd be a sub for long-term sub for PE teacher in 2 schools, middle school, and I'm sorry, there was kinder to 5. And then they might invite me 1 year to be a long-term substitute teacher with special ed kids. And I said, oh my God, okay. And that was very hard. But I know always God put me in the right position at the right time. And I totally understand when I have to be in that place, what's for a reason. And I really appreciate that. And then when I tried to quit and try to find to be a math teacher because I love math, the open position in Rio Rico High School about a Metro Matemáticas teacher. There was a math teacher plus teaching different kind of precision measurement tools. That's what I start over there. And then also because they find out after 4 years I wasn't an engineer, so they invite me to create a CT engineering program. So I create that program. I'm teaching that program for 5 years. And then those field trips, they have been with my kids. I be in Pima, and I find out they have the mechatronic lab over there. That is exactly tools that I teach in high school and all the stuff that I used to use when I was working in industry. And then I have now a dual enrollment with my students in high school. And I'm not pretending to cry, but I love to cry. It is, again, got to put you in the right place at the right time. Really enjoy what am I doing right now. What am I trying to do right now? It is share all my experience with my students, because whatever that I teach in my classes regarding my experience, touching the standards, yes, but it's regarding my experience. And this field is not easy for women, like never going to be easy, never. You always have to prove you're good enough, even when you're teaching. When you get in a classroom, you have at least 95% males and only 5% girls, and they look at you like, you teach really electronics? You can see that face all the time, but that's a normal face for me, for all the people when I get into the place. And maybe for some people it is a little hard. You have to prove all the time that you're good enough, because that's what it is. I love to be a woman. If I die and I'm born again, I want to be a woman again, pass through the same things that I passed through my life. Wasn't easy? No. Talking about, I can write a book about all the experience that I had when I used to work in the industry about sexual harassment and more than that. But it is what it is. And I try to explain this to my students all the time. This field is not easy. It's never going to be easy, but that's why I love it. That's why I love it, because if I don't have those butterflies inside to, like, I have to prove this again and again. Again, after 2 weeks, they know me, what am I doing, how I can teach, how I can explain. And I can, you teach another class? Because I want to be with you again. It says, yes, it's mine. So I love it. I love it. I love it with all my heart. And again, keep doing this. How much time? I'm not sure. This is not my end. This is not my end. Who can stop me? Nobody. And again, that's what I'm trying to explain to my girls, to my boys. And it is so funny because my students in high school, because again, I have 5% of girls in my classes all the time. And I'm just asking myself, why you don't want to be here? Because my program in high school is 3 years. So you need to be with me 3 years. So the first year, usually we get in love or we get divorced. So usually they get divorced the first year and they don't want to go to next because it's hard, because it's an elective. They want an easy elective instead of something they got to spend more time or whatever. It's not hard, but it is what it is. I'm not pretending to change the world. I used to. Now I'm still in that, not that 100. Again, this is for everything. What am I trying to do? It is prepare kids for their future, talking about college, talking about high school, to be better citizens, have a good heart, and be responsible, because that is the key for everything. If you have a big heart, all the opens will open for you, and have a commitment with yourself. So that is my commitment with life. Change the world? Yes. I'm a Girl Scout too. So yes, so it is my commitment for life to make this world a better place, 100%. Now I'll be there. Nobody can stop me. Nobody. And thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you, Rosa Maria. That's fantastic. I'm excited to hear more as we go on. And last but very not least, Taylor, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm so thankful to be here. It's so wonderful to hear all your beautiful stories about how you came to your career today. And I'm looking forward to this. So, but yes, I'm Taylor, last name Kessler. I work at Green Valley Cooling and Heating. So we are in the construction industry. HVAC, cooling and heating. So I've been in the industry for 6 years now. I started my career in the accounting department, so learning accounts receivables and like the backside of things with like profit and just how like business works. And then we started nearing that size or getting bigger and bigger and bringing more opportunity on our team that we needed full-time HR. So Green Valley Cooling and Heating does tuition reimbursement and has partnered with PCC, which they're very near and dear to my heart as well, to give people career opportunities and just tuition reimbursement, whether it's HVAC or a bachelor's in business, what have you. I utilize that. I've been in my current role in HR for 2.5 years now. This company is woman owned, which is very different than other HVAC companies. You know, it is a male dominated industry, and it's amazing to work with an innovative, caring, kind owner that is a female, and it creates that safe space for women to come work in this trade. We've hired women from PCC going through the HVAC apprenticeship programs, you know, whether it's with the tribe or through an apprenticeship, and we love it. Women can do anything. HVAC is not a glamorous trade, but what it is it's in the business of helping people. So, and that's where I think, you know, HVAC may be forgotten sometimes until maybe your cooling or heating goes out. So it's awesome to have that skill set. And our women that have been on our team have thrived. And it's like, let's get you to where you get these skills that you can take it all over the country with you. It's very needed. Every team member on our team gets an EPA certification right off the bat. So I also have mine, which allows us to safely handle refrigerant. So right in the gate, no matter what your position is, we're paying to get you certified to do what we do. And so I'll go into a little bit later some of the support that we can help offer, and groups and just everything construction industry. So just really happy to be here, and I'm a resource if anyone needs to reach out to me to learn more.
Thanks so much, Taylor. Thanks everyone for the introductions. Sherry, I don't know if you have a prompting question you'd like to use. If not, I have one that I'm sort of curious about that we could maybe work off of. You're muted, but I think you said go ahead. It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I know you had mentioned the mentoring program, so I think before we like look ahead at like what could come or what might be, you know, useful or helpful or supportive, I'm curious if any of you have had experiences where you did feel super supported, or there were you know, other women that you worked with that, or men, you know, that like were very supportive of you in your career, and what those were, or on the other side of that, if there were times that you didn't, and like what you wish you would have had. Yeah, go ahead, Rosa Maria.
When I was in Mexico, I was in school at the same time. So in my case, I was in school 6:30 to 4 p.m. working 5 to 10 in school. And I always feel very supported from my bosses all the time. Usually, it's not all of them, but before I graduate, yes, because again, being this kind of careers, they know if a woman want to be in this field is because they want to be there. We want to finish. When I was in school, was 45 boys and 5 girls. We finished 4 boys and 4 girls. So when we are here, when we decide to be here, we know we're not like a playing with this. So, and one thing that I have to say, and I tell all the time to everyone, one thing that we're missing here is we're not helping each other as a woman. When one person is in the top, we don't think this person deserves that. And that is the big problem that we have as a woman. We don't help each other. And in my case, MBD, they have, again, always I want to help. I don't care about the gender, but yes, I want a woman's being in this place. Yes. And according to my students, I'm feminist because I like work girls and the boys. And yes, I'm sorry. for you guys, it's so easy to be here. For us, it's not. But yeah, I will be there for women all the time because we need help. And a lot of people help me. A lot of people help me. So yes, so because we know what we want for sure.
I'll go as well. So construction industry, obviously male dominated, but support I've experienced. I mean, obviously working for a woman led business, like that right there is something that's different. So that was a lot of support that I personally received, was just that support and education, understanding just career growth. But likewise, like with the construction industry, go find a chapter or a group that specializes in what you do. NAWIC is called the National Association of Women in Construction. They have a national chapter as well as like a Tucson chapter specifically in all things women construction. They're amazing, beautiful people. It's a fun group. It's all different kinds of trades in construction. And so you can really like gain that support if for some reason you didn't have it at your current workplace, but you're trying to be that change maybe too. Start to like network and find, maybe a group within your industry that are all women, that have that mutual support for one another. It's also great to network to find other industries that you can partner with and give each other business and just be that support for one another. So on that side of things for construction, that would be something like I'd highly recommend for us specifically is the National Association of Women in Construction. They do tuition, scholarship opportunities, grants, tools to get women into the trades, and they are looking for people to partner with. And so if for some reason you don't have that at your workplace, like branch out and try to find that support that you need. And that's a really good resource that I know. Likewise, if you, work at a company like I do, I'm really thankful. But our work makes sure we have like a safe space here. So support wise, just being in this industry and it being male dominated, there's like, 1-800 anonymous tip lines to like make sure there's always a safe space so someone can talk to someone safely and so that we can make sure that everyone is treated fairly here. And so lots of support that is there. Like Rosette mentioned, women helping women, banding together to get really awesome career opportunities is something that's great. So, but that's what I have with that.
I'll go a little bit. In law enforcement, there's a couple of organizations that one's national and one is at the state level. There's NALI, which is the National Association of Women Law Enforcement Executives, which is women in not just entry-level patrol positions, but all the way up to chiefs of police. Arizona has something called AZ-WIN, which is the Arizona Women's Initiative Network. And that, again, law enforcement, I think we incorporate fire in that a little bit. And again, that's a women's organization at the state level. Some of the things that, another initiative that's at the national level is 30 by 30. And there are agencies that have signed an oath to get 30% of their police force up to 30% women representation by 2030. And some very large agencies across the country have signed on to that initiative and have committed, right? Which means you're recruiting differently because you're actually seeking those candidates because of the diversity that they can bring to your team, the way they can, pivot law enforcement in the public perception of how it is that we do it. And, it's been male dominated for so long. And I really feel that there's some female influence that's going to help see that change across, really law enforcement across our country. And then another local level thing that I've been involved with, two very good friends of mine are chiefs of fire chiefs. And they developed something called Camp Fury. And Camp Fury is a collaboration with the Girl Scouts and police and fire women and some men engage as well, because we don't want it, we don't want to do it in a vacuum, right? But we get leadership from police and fire, and they put on a week-long camp right around Memorial Day week. And it's to promote public safety positions for girls. And I think it's kind of junior high up through high school. But I think what it really does is it empowers those young women to, you know, build their self-confidence and achieve things that they didn't think they were capable of. It's a confidence builder, whether they go into public safety or not. I just think it's a great program. You know, they've seen campers who their first year, they wouldn't rappel down the building, or they wouldn't grab the fire hose or go up the fire truck ladder. And they spend a couple of years in the program and they get stronger and they get braver and they get courageous. And they get towards, you know, the end of the program after they've been in it a few years. And you see these young women transformed in their confidence in what they think they can achieve. And, you know, Rosa, I think it really does make them believe it's not going to be easy, right? There's so many careers out there, they're not easy, but they learn that they can do those things and they can achieve that. And if it's something they enjoy, you know, they can make a career at it. And it's just an empowering program, regardless of what they choose as a career.
You know, Michelle, I think you make a great point. Love Camp Fury. And you know, what better way to expose young girls to a career field that they may not even have any idea what it's about. You know, when you think about organizations that we work for, I mean, I'm in the Arizona Air National Guard. So when I'm walking around in my military uniform, oh, are you a pilot? No, I'm not a pilot, but we don't know what we don't know, right? So if we don't have that exposure to the different career field opportunities within organizations, then they won't be able to fill those roles. Another thing is we talked a little bit about bias. And so I thought of an experience that I had. So I was working at Pima County, and my husband had been in the military a long time and had all of these great stories of camaraderie and opportunities. And I thought, you know, I'm going to go to the recruiter's office and I'm going to see if they have anything for me. It can't hurt, you know. And I think Rosa said it right. You kind of bring your own journey, right? You never know where your twist and turn is going to go until you go and see what the opportunity is there. But I walked into the recruiter's office and I just walked right in, and the recruiter says, "Hi, ma'am. Good to have you. Are you here to learn about career opportunities for your son?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm actually here to learn about career opportunities for myself." And he was really apologetic, but it really spoke volumes to the fact that they don't see people like me coming in there often to learn about the opportunities that are available. Since then, I've had certainly a lot of mentors that have helped lead me along the way, male and female, and tremendous leadership. And I think it brings another point in. At Bank of America, we have what's called employee networks. And there are women networks, Lead for Women, which is leadership for the advancement of women. And then other diverse networks to help encourage the mentorship as well as the sponsorship, right? Those sponsors who can help connect you with your next step that you may not have known is available. So I just encourage those who are looking for mentors to look around your environment. You know, if you're going to school right now, there's certainly some opportunity to find that role model who would gladly take you by the hand and take you with them on their journey. So I just encourage to look around. You don't have to go too far out of your way, because I'm sure we're here to empower each other.
Thank you all for responding to that. I like I think there's a thread of like finding the people that will support you, and that there are networks and programs that already do exist, and how can we kind of expand upon them and encourage people to seek them out, even if they're not always obvious. So there was another question that Carla put in the chat that I'd love to have some of you or all of you expand on. Carla asked, what kinds of questions can we ask when interviewing for positions that will give us a clue that an employer is supportive of women?
I can chime in. When interviewing with a company and just wanting to see and gauge out, are they supportive? Does it seem like they're going to be an employer that will help me in my career path? As a woman, like, first things I would look at is asking, like, do you have a maternity leave policy? Like, what's your policy on ethics? Like, do you guys have a safe space? Like, especially if I was going to an industry where maybe it was questionable for me as a woman to go into, that can be nerve-wracking for women. I would also just recommend doing research on the company. Do they have diversity on their website? Do they have good reviews that really shows, their reviews of how they treat their customers is how they're going to treat their employees as well, right? Because when you take care of your people, they take care of, our customer base as well. I would also ask, if they have any women in leadership roles, and if so, how many, what would my career path look like as an applicant with you, because these are my goals, and then figuring out how we could partner together. But just making sure you already, have women that have succeeded there is always good. I saw Michelle also put in the chat, talking with that person. Okay, great, because I'd love to meet with them. That's great, Michelle. I highly suggest that as well. Asking those probing questions, and then their responses are everything too. Maybe if they're kind of standoffish and then like, oh, why do you need to know that? And it's like, I just want to make sure that we're a good fit for one another. Usually if an employer isn't worried about, that type of thing, they're very open and supportive. So seeing how they gauge their answers is a huge indicator. Do you want to work for them? So.
Yeah, go ahead, Rosa.
Some samples that I have here. When you want to be an engineer, for example, you want to be in the field. This is a little different. So if you want to compete with them, and that wasn't my case, I never asked nothing about that, because I pretending to be at that field like a person, not like a woman, like a man. I'm a person. That's it. In the end, we have to prove that we are good enough. Number one, our first problem that we have is because we get pregnant, and that happened to me one time. One time they hired me before my manager, and when my manager get into the company, the first meeting that we have with him, it is, okay, he has mentioned two girls and another engineer. So number one, I don't want to work with girls. And the other person is looking at me, and I look at her and say, oh, we are in trouble. And again, my problem is, I'm not sure it's a problem. If it's something good, I always open my mouth. And I ask him, why? And he mentioned to me, because we get pregnant. And I answer back, okay, let's start. Tomorrow, you guys get pregnant. No problem for me at all. And he looked at me, not really happy with that, but it is what it is. You need to be strong. You need to fight, yes, and again, and again, and there's a way that you're supposed to be strong. And if don't let the other people change you the way that you are. If you like a dress and you like wear high heels, that's you. Doesn't matter what are you doing. Doesn't prove you're not good enough in that position. That happened to me. Looking me about, you're wearing high heels? Really? You're an engineer, says, this is my brain, this is my hands. If I have to get out from here, I do whatever I have to do. And I prove them that when I need to do be a princess, I can be a princess. And I can be in the mud and do whatever, I can do it. That's not a problem for me. If I had to cut my nails, I can cut my nails. If I don't have to wear makeup, it's not a problem for me. But don't let the people change you where you are, because they want to be a copy of another male because it's you they want it. I'm sorry, I'm a girl. And I will be an engineer in the same way, because it's not my appearance, it's my brain. What am I using for work? And they need to understand that we are who we are. They need to respect us. And if we have to prove again and again, I don't care. I will do it again and again and again. And it happened to me one time when I get into the meeting. Everybody was wearing gray, black, and white. and I get into the pink suit. Everybody look at me like, what? And the reaction is, you don't look like an engineer. It says, oh, really? Because I'm wearing pink? You guys, you look so boring with those colors. And it is what it is. But don't let the people change you. You need to be strong. Yes, you have to keep strong. Yes, because we are good enough. And again, it's not about women, it's not about men. It's we have the same brain. That's what we have. And we have, thank God, we can have babies inside because I love that with all my heart. I don't change that kind of feeling that I have inside me. So and we have extra bonus over there.
I just wanted to say that I think that it actually starts before the interview process. Doing your research on the company, does that company have the values and, like Taylor said, those ethics that meet your standard? And that's something that I think is important before you even get through the interview process. So I just wanted to point that out.
No, I think that's a great point, Lacey. And I think that's something we were talking about a little bit when we were kind of trying to envision the panel of like the role of companies and then the role of like the employees themselves and like what the balance is of like advocating for change and then companies doing that. So yeah, I don't know if any of you have thoughts about that in terms of like how that can balance out, or if you believe, it should be more on one side or the other.
Well, I can chime in. I really truly believe that employment is a partnership. It's a two-way street, and that the individual working on the team has to be happy where they're at, and the company wants to be happy with them too. And so it really is a partnership, and it's not more one-sided than the other. I mean, as a female in the industry, and this company specifically with Joanna, the owner, and myself, like we are that change. We want to be that change, and that's why our company is so innovative with the things that we do and the things that we have. So it can be tough though, because I know in the construction industry, that's not everywhere. And so I think as a woman, you do have to advocate for yourself to be that change and stand strong and know what you deserve. And maybe you could be that light of change for a company to be like, that's a great innovative idea. I want to bring more women and diversity in our team. And maybe they might, accept those ideas, or maybe put a committee together. And if they're just like, kind of brush it off, maybe that's not a type of company that you want to work for. But, Lacey hit the nail on the head with doing your research on really, I mean, it's not like, oh, I hope they hire me. It's like, do I want to work for them? Right. So that was a really good thing to note as well.
Yeah, not necessarily am I a good fit for them, but boy, are they a good fit for me and my lifestyle, my family, my kiddos, are they a good fit for me? And I think that's really important when you're looking at those opportunities.
Yeah, I know that when we sit down and we hire applicants, whether they're coming in as a dispatcher, a patrol officer, or even a civilian community service officer, regardless of gender, ethnicity, whatever, we have a way that we like to conduct business and interact and support our community. And it's a philosophy. And you have to understand the philosophy and buy into the philosophy, or you're just not going to be a good fit here, despite whatever, whatever diversity you might bring to the table. So that's our first thing, is you have to understand the philosophy and be able to work within that environment. Because again, you want happy employees, they want to feel supported, and they want to enjoy the work that they do because they're out representing, whether it's a company name or a department or an organization. And so, yeah, it's making sure you're hiring those right people. But at the same time, I really feel like that type of philosophy has a broader appeal across sort of the diversity spectrum, right? No, you're not going to come and work for our department and, run around and write tickets and handcuff people all day. That's not who we are. And so we want to make it very clear that people understand that philosophy when they apply with us, who we are, and we're very honest, and who we aren't. And we are not the Tucson Police Department. I can't give you that kind of call load and adrenaline rush every day. That's not what we're about. So we just have that honest conversation so that people know what they're signing up for. And I think I would encourage people, regardless of the career path or the employer you're interviewing with, you kind of want to know the culture and the philosophy of the place that you're potentially entertaining employment with.
So this is just a follow-up to that, because I think this applies to anyone when they're job interviewing, but I'm curious like how, and I think this kind of goes back to like, how do you ask that? Because I think, you know, you can ask in an interview, what's the company culture like? But have you seen really good examples of questions that help elicit that more so than just like, what's the culture? Because I think that's really easy to kind of just gloss over. But I'm curious what you all think about that.
We have, so our candidates, regardless of what position they're interviewing for, they have an interview panel, and there's some structured questions that get asked. And some of them are a little bit philosophical, but then they have to do an executive review process. And that's with a chief, a commander, a lieutenant. So there's always a couple of us in there, and it's all about philosophy. And I would almost say, if they're not talking to you about it, you might want to ask if that's something that they really value. If they're not putting it out right in front, being transparent about it, you might want to scratch your head and go, what is it I don't know that I really wish I did know? Because I feel like they should be engaging you in that. If you don't have somebody making sure you're a good fit for each other, I would dig deeper before I would accept a position at that place.
So I guess in my experience, like maybe someone doesn't feel comfortable just saying, or just something in addition to like, what's your culture like? I would ask like probing questions on like, one, like what their benefits are. Do they do things together as like a team? Because that's a culture that's like important to me. Like knowing what cultures would you like to be a part of, then you could ask those probing questions about if they align with what you're looking for. Like, you know, us as a company, we like to do a lot of like team building, we do company events, like we try to make fun even in the crazy summer times and all those things. And so learning, one, what type of cultures are out there, and then two, what would align with what you're looking for, then ask those questions. If they do those things, like that might promote that type of culture. That's kind of how I would go about if we didn't want to say, oh, just what's your culture like, and they could just come up with some random like title, like make them give you concrete examples so they can like back up their claims.
I just wanted to put it out there that if anybody else has any questions or comments, anything that they wanted to bring up, feel free to do so. You can either put it in the chat or you can raise your hand, and then we'll let you unmute and ask your question or make your comment.
So I have really enjoyed listening to everyone, and I just wanted to share with Michelle, and the reason that I got interested in this type of research, not only because it's been a part of my life for a long time, because I've done a lot of jobs that were in male-dominated areas, but because I saw some information on policing that had to do with a police chief who was trying to change the culture, and how that changed the way that they policed when they actually hired more women, because they have a different attitude, and perhaps many of them are better at community policing. Have you looked into that at all, or have you seen that happen at PCC?
I'm not the first female chief that we have had. We had a previous chief, but I think, you know, to speak a little bit to what Rosa talked about, where I think she kind of came up through the ranks in Tucson Police Department when it was a little dog eat dog, right? We didn't do much to support each other and mentor each other. It was competitive. And I almost feel like the culture itself kind of created that, right? There weren't going to be a lot of women that were going to bubble to the top. So it was very competitive, and we didn't support each other in those roles. We were actually, they sort of gave you the perception like we were each other's competition. And so it was almost easier to tear each other down than it was to try to lift each other up and hope that somebody would get up there and then maybe reach a hand down and help somebody else up. So I really feel like women leadership is changing the way that policing is done. And I'll go back to one of the comments that I heard as in undergrad from one of my fellow students. He didn't want a female partner because females can't fight. And it is just so stereotypical for people to think that all about policing is whether or not you can defend yourself and help out your partner. And I will tell you, that is such a small part of it. And frankly, that's a trainable skill, right? That's why we do a bunch of defensive tactics. It's a trainable skill. I can show you a very small, petite person, male or female, that has the right training in martial arts or defensive tactics, and they can defeat probably anybody of any size because it's a skill. But the old stereotype was, you had to be tough and be able to fight to be a police officer. And 99.9% of what we do is problem solve by communicating and de-escalating and mitigating situations so that, they're handled at a lower level. I do feel overall women do a better job of that. One, because we don't want to fight. We don't have anything to prove. Whereas I think stereotypically some men, if you're challenging their authority, right? I'm in this uniform and I have this badge and you're challenging my authority, and it's just sort of an affront to their ego. Women don't tend to approach the job that way. We come at it from, we have a job to do, and the easiest way for me to handle it is if I can communicate with you and get you to do what I need you to do. And I really feel like women are shifting that culture. And there's an organization that does a lot of recruitments for high-level executive, law enforcement, police chiefs, I'm sure fire chiefs. And oftentimes I will get a solicitation. It's a blind solicitation, right? They're just like, oh, well, you're an executive level, so we're going to send this to you. Recently, I've seen an increase in personalized ones. Michelle, we've looked at your resume. We think you'd be a great candidate for this chief of police job. So they're getting it. One of it is they want a more diverse pool, a recruitment pool, right? They don't want a bunch of white males as their candidates to choose from. They want that diversity, and more they want female diversity. And interestingly enough, we now have, I think as of today, our third female police chief in Pima County. Kara Riley is the police chief for Oro Valley, and Paula Balafas was just hired as the new police chief for the University of Arizona. So, and you get up in the Phoenix region, Jerry Williams, female police chief, minority female police chief of the Phoenix Police Department, so it is definitely, I would say, catching on that women law enforcement leaders are changing that culture. And I would argue it's definitely for the better. We are in the people business. You've got to know how to talk to people and problem solve. And it isn't with, your bulk and in your ability to physically dominate somebody. That is not how we get the job done. But I think that's an old school perception that that's what law enforcement is, and it just absolutely is not.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. No, go ahead if you have another question. I just wanted to say that is, I think you're absolutely correct, Michelle, and thank you so much for being here and sharing that with us.
Yeah, I saw Julia had her hand raised, so I wanted to see if we can squeeze one more question in before it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, thank you. So Michelle, thanks for mentioning that though, because that was the part about women more not raising each other up, because I had heard in the I'm sure maybe others have heard it amongst people I know, that they don't like having a female supervisor because they feel like their supervisor isn't there to support and build them up. And I was fortunate that I didn't have that experience until a little bit further along in my career, so I was able to handle it a little bit better. But I thought that is interesting, and that's important to remember, that we should be building each other up in the workplace. But yeah, my question was, because you all seem to be doing wonderful in your professions, is there anything that you would recommend for students to get involved with, or young professionals to get involved with, within maybe the Tucson community, that you've been involved with, that you would like to recommend? Any like nonprofits or organizations or leadership programs that you think have made an impact on your professional experience and your work in the community?
I think the Women's Foundation of Southern Arizona is a great organization that promotes women across the board, right? Whether it's, assisting with education and career building, with single mothers, starting a business. Women's Foundation is a really excellent female-focused group that promotes many things women and feminist.
Yeah, so I'll chime in, and I've been part of Greater Tucson Leadership. Not sure if you all have heard of it, but I think the biggest piece of that for me was not the program in its entirety. It's amazing, but also the opportunity for the self-reflection, right? So part of it is really identifying your strengths and your weaknesses. I've known for a very long time that, right, my strength was communication and public speaking, community relations, math, not so much. Hence, but I do work for a bank, neither here nor there. I don't do too much math. But, I encourage everyone kind of keep an open mind and look at your strengths and find ways to leverage those. So while you're looking at those organizations that, have the culture that you want, also look for those roles that fit, your strengths and your interests, and you'll just find yourself in a great spot.
Yeah, I think the YWCA is another really good organization in Southern Arizona. They do a lot of really positive things for women in our community as well.
And when I need to advertise Girl Scouts, yes, Girl Scouts is an amazing place, or for help each other. Yes, absolutely. And again, we are here for help us. And if you see now the person next to you is a woman, trust in her 100%. We are here for a reason. We are not doing this to try to fight with anyone. We want to share what we know. And if what we can share with you guys that can help you to be better, that's what I'm pretending to you guys be better and suffer a little bit less in the way. That's all we're trying to do.
And two, be willing to help out those guys that want to be part of the change and the support and the allies, right? We can't all do it together. We've got to have those allies that are willing to help support us, back us, be the person that's going to report to that female boss or whatever, right? And be a good, I always say, leadership is effective if you've got good followership, right? You've got to have trust. And oftentimes, if you're a woman in leadership, you've definitely got male subordinates that report to you. And, you've got to have that trust with them. And I'm not saying they get, we have to cut them a little bit of slack, right? It's kind of like, as a society, we have some paradigms and some stereotypes that even we have as women, right? That we've probably unknowingly perpetuated. And it's also, giving people a chance to be wrong, but willing to change and listen and gain a different perspective. So, I think we have to be there for them as well, so that they can support the change and, the lifting up of the women that we want to start seeing more so in some of these career fields.
And also, if we are in this kind of positions, we can show to the rest of the people that we can help also males, because we can help. Absolutely. Teaching my class, I have, again, 95% of my students are males, and they're learning from a girl. And for me, that's, again, I don't care if I'm a woman or I'm a boy, but the person who is teaching is a girl. So, and I had the opportunity to change their mind for a lot of my students because they want to be an engineer after I teach my class. And that, oh my God, that is inside my heart. So I'm moving a little bit to help them to be exactly what I want to be when they go in college. That is amazing for me. And again, because we have something different, we are moms. We have those kind of feelings that nobody can change. That is something extra that we can see things that maybe another people can't see, because we put our hearts when we're teaching, when we're explaining, when we want to change this world. So we're good. And again, males are amazing also. Yes, I always have an amazing people helping me. Like I have none really amazing people, but most of them, that's why I'm here. I have the respect for my husband, for my kids, for everyone, because I proved that maybe, yes, but they helped me. And I want to say thank you for that also. But yes, let us help you. So doesn't matter who we are, just we want to help, and that's it.
Well, thank you all for being here today and for sharing your perspectives. We really appreciate it. And thank you for letting us record so we can share this with other folks at Pima. I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we can share any last things. But thank you for being here.